Welcome to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G. This podcast is all about connecting the community with the thought leaders of business and entertainment in the cannabis industry. As this industry expands and becomes more and more mainstream, we want to educate and entertain our listeners and become your choice and voice for all things cannabis. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. Have you visited MJ.com? MJ.com is the online destination where you can find everything you need to know about the emerging legal marijuana industry. Where else can you find the latest original content, news, and trends? Connect to a local doctor to obtain your medical marijuana card, receive exclusive brand savings, and have your favorite product delivered straight to your front door? MJ.com has it all. Go check them out. Welcome to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today our special guest is Mr. Chris Lane. He is the Chief Marketing Officer for the Airfield Supply Company. The Airfield Supply Company is a full-service cannabis dispensary out in California. They have a boutique-style retail store offering a wide selection of the finest cannabis products, and we are going to hear all about what they've been doing, their journey, his personal journey, and talk a little bit about the cannabis industry. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Delighted to be here.
Excellent. So you're out in Cali today. I want you to give the listeners a little bit of a background. Who is Chris Lane? How did you come to be part of the cannabis industry?
Yes, my role here, as you said, is Chief Marketing Officer, and really, I think I kind of found my way into the cannabis industry through creativity, to be honest. So, obviously went to school for communications and advertising and creative, and in fact fine art as well. I was a classically trained painter, but kind of found my way into it from obviously a lifelong love of cannabis, and then the crossover with an industry that was really growing and really looking to sort of tap into the next level of creativity. So after I went to school, I worked in creative agencies and global consumer tech companies and things all over the world, and traveled all over and shot, ad campaigns in Africa and Asia and Middle East and all those kind of things. And always sort of had an eye on the cannabis industry and just this amazing growth that was happening over the last, 15 years or so. And, an opportunity came about 5 years ago to get involved and help work on the creative strategy for Cannabis Dispensary, which was then called South Bay Healing Center. And eventually, we worked on the brand evolution to the name Airfield Supply Company. So I was working on that project, helping with the naming strategy, the design strategy, working with an amazing design team who, in fact, we still work with today, called Potluck Creative, and a gentleman, a creative director named Sam Jordan, on just how do we build the next version of cannabis retail. Everyone knew green and purple and weed leaves and that sort of zigzaggy edge and all those classic sort of tropes that come with it. The CEO of Airfield Supply Company, what it's called now, when we were brought into the project, wanted to look way far past that. The first piece of the story was how do we, none of that will be incorporated. How do we build a modern brand that feels agnostic of being pinned into an industry? Because we knew, adult use legalization was coming. We knew that the industry was growing at this massive clip, and we didn't want to be sort of siloed into a corner of one of those, great and totally serviceable, sort of medicinal kind of vibe things. But we wanted to build an experience that people enjoyed shopping there just as much as they did shopping at Nordstrom or going to a nice cafe to have a great cup of coffee and a pastry. We wanted to build that next version of the experience. And so that's kind of where I officially found my way into cannabis, was working on this strategy of what does that look like? How does it go? Obviously, Airfield, our geographic location, literally a stone's throw away from San Jose International Airport, helped lend to a lot of this sort of creative ideation around that concept of takeoff, right? And from the beginning, it was about just thinking of this rich vein of storytelling that we can do around, the crossover between cannabis and travel and aviation and the concept of taking off and lifting off. And I mean, some of the more fun brainstorms I've ever had in my entire life. We're building this world of Airfield, and we're joking in the beginning about, oh my God, we get boarding passes for people when they come in, and what if we could do medicated peanuts for people on their first trip, and all sorts of things that we just were like having so much fun brainstorming. And so I kind of worked on that project a lot, and then had taken a consultancy capacity while I was working in some other brands and in consumer tech and in creative. And then a little over a year ago, just under a year and a half ago, came on full time as the CMO to to help start scaling what is the next version of that, which is larger scale marketing and more complex marketing and content storytelling and all those things to really bring more of a depth and a richness to that narrative at the next level. That's how I kind of got to here. And then the rest is history or is the future, either way.
So tell us a little bit about the vibe of when you come to the dispensary. I have not been there personally, but as I said to you off the air, my brother-in-law is a customer, and I'll give him a little shout. Bill out there in San Jose, he said that the artwork, there's a different vibe in your dispensary. Can you kind of give a verbal walkthrough of what it's like to be come through and have that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So Airfield, as we mentioned, it's all built around this concept of sort of the golden age of travel, or like that amazing, really more that emotional feeling you have when you're traveling, right? Everyone loves that energy, that excitement. I jokingly say to a lot of people, there's no better drink you can have than a drink in an airport before you leave for a trip, because of that feeling you have, that energy you have. And, we wanted to kind of capture that feeling in a shopping experience. So when you walk in, it's not intended to be overly themed as an airport, but really more built around that emotional concept of it. So, we have various elements that obviously from a design perspective, we wanted to keep it very modern, very clean, very boutique. We worked with a great design firm to build out the interior retail space. It's all about clean lines, a nice palette that feels welcoming, that feels like a high-end retail experience. But we've sprinkled in a variety of aviation elements. But before you even get to that point, before you even get to, into the retail floor, which is actually designed to look like a runway of an airport, we have our lobby space, which has a large window room into our mother room. So right when you walk in, you can see, probably 100 plants at any given time that we're growing. Airfield, as a vertically integrated dispensary, we not only have our retail operation, but we do have our cultivation on site, as well as processing and packaging for our house brand Jet Fuel, which we sell through here, as well as at a variety of other dispensaries. But so you walk in and you immediately see plants on your right. You're seeing exposed wood and corrugated steel and airplane wings hanging from the ceiling, as well as we've got airport lounge seats and those kind of things. So we want to sort of set a tone of, you're here, this is an enjoyable place, you're here to have fun, especially in these times right now. We really are trying to create a feeling of an oasis in a COVID desert, if you will, in some ways. So we want people to feel relaxed, excited to come in, enjoy their shopping experience. You're greeted by our team, you check in, you go through that. And then depending on what you're doing, if you're ordering express, we have our express kiosks. We can order right there and pick up immediately. Or you go into the retail floor where we have, bud tender consultations that take you through. But the entire design of this, again, is to feel very agnostic of pushing a specific product on you, and really more about, what are you there for? Why are you interested in taking off? Is it for medicinal reasons? Is it for relaxation reasons, creativity reasons, whatever your reason is, so that we can guide you to the right products? So, we've got the individual sort of consultation point of sales with each one staffed with a bud tender, products on the wall. We've got, airline graphics and large various pieces like that to sort of hint at the tone. But, really what we're trying to do is create a concept, create an emotional concept, rather than than sort of like guiding people too far in one direction, to hopefully make sure they end up with the right product, the right solution, and then at the end of the day, the right journey that they're going on.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely unique and sounds fantastic. So let's dive into the business end of it. In California is obviously its own animal, such a huge economy, such a huge scaling cannabis destination. You're both medically and recreationally legal. How have you seen the business? Are people coming in for the medical side versus the recreational side? What kind of split are you seeing? And are you seeing any trends in that area?
Yeah. One interesting caveat to California, and certainly since, adult use legalization passed, is the concept of medical or recreational, at least at a classification level, really sort of disappeared. It really doesn't exist anymore. Because there isn't really a need to get a medical recommendation. Anyone over 21 can purchase cannabis. Obviously, your limits change and some of those kind of things. And certainly, on the people who are coming in specifically with medical recommendations, then they've done a lot more, physician consulting on specifically what they're looking for. I mean, that's fantastic. But we do really sort of try to ensure that anyone who's coming in, whether they're classified or classifying themselves as medical or not, are given the same sort of experience. So, we see people coming in for every kind of choice, and a lot of people are coming in for medicinal reasons, looking for potential help with things like anxiety or sleep or pain management or any of those kind of things. Obviously, we are not physicians, and we never make medical claims, but certainly we know that there's a lot of good that can come from that in the treatment or in the stress release or in all those kind of things. And we get a lot of people that come in for, the enjoyable side of the world, whether it's creativity, relaxation, connecting with a partner, connecting with yourself, having a good time just in general, especially right now. There's so much stress out in the world that, we see people coming in for a variety of reasons, all in one visit. Maybe they're looking for something that will help them sleep, and they're looking for something that will help them relax in the afternoon, or vice versa, or any of those kind of things. So honestly, we see a large gamut of customers here, and we have the honor of doing fairly large transaction volumes on a daily basis. I mean, on average, pre-virus, pre-social distancing, and some of the limitation things we were doing, on average, about 1,500 people a day were coming through Airfield's dispensary, and about 300 of those every day were new customers. People who were either new to cannabis or new to our dispensary. Maybe they were visiting California, maybe they were out here for work, maybe they came with a friend and learned something new. So we often, and I always say, like, there are as many stories as there are people in the world, and I think everyone is coming for something unique, and everyone also often kind of learns new ways of incorporating cannabis in surprising ways, whether that's you enjoy it for sleep, and then one time you happen to come in and you have an ailment. Maybe you got injured riding a bike or surfing or doing something, and then you try out a topical cream, and then that doesn't enter you into the sort of the pain management kind of look at the world, but you're also still using it for sleep. So I think we see so many people going on journeys with cannabis as they learn more about the product and as they learn more about the world. So not to bring it overly back to the theme, but that's really where it is so great to be able to take people on different journeys as they discover more about the plant and the product and what's possible with it.
And have you seen, obviously you alluded to, we're recording this episode during the pandemic drama. The movie we're all in as
Yes.
co-stars now. What was the percentage of delivery orders before the pandemic and during it now? Obviously it's gone up, I would assume.
Yeah, we've seen delivery skyrocket, to be frank. Prior to the pandemic, we saw about 5% of our transactions were deliveries. That immediately shot up to about 25% over the course of one weekend, right in the beginning of that, in that sort of middle March, just around St. Patrick's Day, as a good Irish kid would say. But we saw massive scale then. And in fact, right at that time is also when we started scaling our delivery capacity. Really, that 25% was only limited on our fleet size. At that point, we were operating 4 delivery vehicles. And in fact, we operate all Teslas as our delivery vehicle. We have a pretty large commitment to sustainability here. So moving away from fossil fuels was a huge important step for us. And, at that point, we knew delivery was the future. And in fact, we'd known it for a long time. I mean, we'd been taking a lot of aggressive steps towards e-commerce and delivery in general to better support the population. I mean, cannabis is interesting in a lot of ways. It is obviously incredibly forward thinking in a variety of capacities, but consumption or retail was still very much brick and mortar for most people. And I think we had been moving aggressively towards e-commerce and delivery because, similar to every other industry, that's where the world is going. The on-demand economy and the e-commerce driven economy, has been here for some time. I mean, Uber, Lyft, Amazon, DoorDash, Grubhub, you name it, that is the standard. So I think this virus has sort of sped up the evolution that the cannabis industry has made towards e-commerce and delivery and on-demand. Which I would never say a global pandemic is a good thing, but certainly it's an interesting way to sort of kickstart a revolution in an industry. But yeah, since the beginning, we've tripled our delivery fleet size. We've scaled our capacity, scaled our delivery range, scaled our team, scaled everything really to be able to keep up with that demand, because certainly we've seen it as a forcing function on the consumer side that while there was an evolution towards e-commerce pickup and delivery, this has kickstarted the consumer demand side. So therefore, it's allowed us to focus on scaling the supply side to support that.
Yeah, this situation has definitely involuntarily proven an efficiency model that everyone needs to adapt to. So yeah, I think you touched on that. Great right there. So what else does Airfield Supply Company have coming down the pike? Any new partnerships, ventures, products? Tell us a little bit about what you have going on or what you're excited about coming up this year.
Yeah, we are incredibly excited about a lot of things. In fact, on the product side, in fact, one thing that we just launched, which is really exciting, is Plus Gummies, which for anyone who isn't familiar is the number one selling gummy in California. But we actually just launched an Airfield exclusive collaboration with Plus Gummies that we call Lemon Jack, which is the first ever strain specific gummy and first ever full spectrum gummy coming out of Plus. So we launched that actually just last week with them. It's based on the Jack Herrera, famous terpene profile and strain that is actually one of Jet Fuel's, our in-house brand's sort of most well-known strain, something we've been growing for 10 years and perfecting and really have built, quite a following on is our Jack. And so we teamed up with Plus to say, hey, what if we took the essence of that lemony profile and that sort of uplifting flavor and uplifting, strain effect and brought it into a gummy, something that had never been done. So we just launched that. That's been getting fantastic reviews. It tastes amazing and people are loving it. I probably get a text message every single night from someone saying, oh my God, I just tried Lemon Jack. Like, yep, that's a killer. We're also launching several other collaborations similar to that. This was actually our 10-year anniversary just passed in February. And so we've kind of lined up a variety of different collaborations and partnerships and things that we're rolling out over the course of the year to celebrate that, things that, are relevant to our history or our future and try to, just keep things fresh. We're also just on a business level, really excited about some initiatives that we can't talk too much about yet, but would be happy to come back on and talk about more once they're live around sustainability in the cannabis industry. We've been doing some very, very big lifting together with other leaders in the industry to pull together something really exciting that will be a benefit to the industry, a benefit to the perception of the industry, and ultimately a benefit to the consumer as it comes to, being a more conscious cannabis consumer around sustainability. So some really exciting things there that are going to be happening over the next few months, as well as really, just in general, Airfield is scaling. Like I said, we have the benefit of being one of the largest single site dispensaries in America. We are really taking this moment to figure out how we can better serve the community. How can we integrate more into people's lives as their lives have rapidly changed due to this virus and due to what will inevitably be the new normal that we're looking at for some time or forever. So we're expanding our ability to serve people in a variety of ways, trying to make it as convenient as possible, as simple as possible, and like I said, kind of be that oasis in the desert right now, if that's what people need, or just be that release for people. So we're really excited about some things there that we'll be continuing to do to bring more to the market. And then Jet Fuel, our in-house brand, is another really exciting thing that, we're going to start bringing to more and more dispensaries throughout California so that more people can kind of try a lot of these strains that, that have become so popular here.
So where can people find out more about your company online? What's the website? What's your social, if you have any, and get in touch with your team?
Yeah, so website is airfieldsupplyco.com. You can find us there. That's you can always check out our menu, which is super fun and always live and updates, as well as a lot of our story and narrative. Or you can check out our product line at jetfuelcannabis.com. And Instagram is at Airfield Supply. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Yeah, and super excited. We are thrilled to be able to kind of provide something so essential in such a tricky time.
So let's finish up, Chris, with a couple of general industry topics. So first of all, just in California, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were in one location and then new rules and regulations came out and you had to move. If that's not correct, please correct me. But tell some of the business owner listeners that we have out there, no matter what state they're in, how you've had to deal with the local municipality and or city-state laws and their ever-changing and adapting environment.
Yeah, we moved. So we moved locations. In fact, the timing that I mentioned around the evolution from South Bay Healing Center to Airfield Supply Company was coordinated with that move, and it was for a variety of reasons. I mean, space, regulations, strategy, planning, cultivation, all sorts of things wrapped into a much bigger story than just that. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, the one thing that is so important and that we always really try to focus in on is being proactive in communication and staying in touch with local municipalities through constant communication so that, you're never on the back foot when it comes to needing to make an update or make a change. I mean, the reality is this is an industry that has never existed before. Everything that happens is the first time it happens right now, and will continue to be that way for some time. I mean, when you look at other retail industries, regulated or not, they have hundreds potentially of years of experience and evolution and reaction to global environments or all sorts of things. So, cannabis, every time is always the first time, at least for some time, that's going to be true. So, our perspective has always been be proactive, be communicative, be overly communicative with your counterparts in any local municipality or any reason or any place that you need to talk to, so that you're never surprised. The worst thing you can ever be as a business is stuck on your back feet. You spend all your time scrambling, then you miss your chance to move forward. You can compromise market share. You can do all those different things when you're stuck scrambling. So it is much more advantageous to always be looking forward and always looking to connect rather than try to fight back. That is always our belief. Establish those lines of communication, establish those relationships, nurture them, and be supportive of them when you don't have to be. There's an amazing power in coming to bat for people when it offers nothing for yourself. That later down the line may be beneficial. I mean, I suppose that's something of a fundamental human truth as much as it is a business truth, but I think it gets lost sometimes in business. So never forget to scratch other people's backs, because you might need a scratch down the line sometime.
100% agree. 100% agree. All right. Final question, Chris. I think he actually touched on some of it there, but give us something in the general industry, not really about Airfield Supply, but in the general cannabis industry, something that concerns you overall and something that really excites you.
Yeah. Something that concerns me, I would say, it's not necessarily a concern, but more of an observation, is that I think cannabis for some time has hung its hat on its uniqueness, on the fact that it is different. It is all those things that I said before. It's first. Everyone who's doing something is a pioneer. That's really cool. I came from, prior to working officially in cannabis, I was working in tech and consumer tech and startups in Silicon Valley and San Francisco mostly. And that pioneer culture is intoxicating in a lot of ways, right? There's this amazing belief in this idea that we are breaking ground on things that have never been done before. And that's really cool. I think sometimes that creates a very pointy spear that doesn't have a long staff on it sometimes. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of rushing forward, but the base isn't there. I think we're seeing a lot of those bases be corrected now or be built. This metaphor makes absolutely no sense, but you know where I'm going.
Yes.
I think we're seeing some of that course correction and some of that, we need to build businesses, not just build the tip of the spears constantly. Because inevitably, if there isn't something for that to come back on, or if there isn't that strong, strategy and solidification or those kind of things, that can leave you in the foundation situation. And that's never a good place to be. But I think we're seeing a lot of intelligent movement on that. We're seeing brands become businesses. We're seeing strategies develop. We're seeing, people coming together. And I think we're seeing good combinations of people coming from other industries, rather than people coming in and just trying to change it and make it something else. Just make it retail, or just make it, something that cannabis isn't, because it is so unique. So I think that's an exciting thing to see. But it comes with the challenges that making businesses out of brands or making brands out of stories brings with it, of, right sizing and strategizing and needing to do things and not just sometimes always getting to be the flashiest thing, but you want to be the smartest thing. So, I think we're seeing that in the challenge. And I think on the flip side of that, the thing that is so exciting to me is in fact the exact same thing, which is this is an industry full of pioneers. It's full of people who are doing just incredibly creative things and finding ways to survive, and often because, again, of where this industry has come from. The startup version of cannabis is very rarely the Palo Alto garage that Apple was started in, though there are actually several cannabis companies that were started in Palo Alto garages, including Plus Gummies. It's kind of funny. But this industry of pioneers is just, it's amazing what people think of. I mean, we just see so many creative solutions, and we love leading the way on some of those. We love learning from other people who are doing things, but we really are seeing innovative solutions, whether that's in, consumer engagement and retail fulfillment, with things like online kiosks or or amazing delivery or contactless delivery or all of those kind of things, whether that's in product development. There are just amazing amounts of new products coming out that thankfully are tested and, have the right kind of validation, all those kind of things. So that the introduction to the market is really exciting, or whether that's just in concept. I heard from someone very recently who's a very well-known personality in America and in Hollywood. And out of this pandemic, they had sort of, apparently the phrase they said was, wow, like delivery is amazing. Like that's all I ever need again. And it was just like this click of people realizing like, oh, right, cannabis can be a modern industry. And there's going to be so much innovation that's going to come from that or from this world and these challenges that are happening. And again, nobody ever is happy about a pandemic or a challenge. That's the exact opposite. I mean, people's livelihoods are being threatened on a global scale right now, and lives, more importantly. But I think innovation is going to come fast and it's going to come hot, and it's going to be good for the industry to be able to find ways to more organically insert into people's lives, to figure out how to be that takeoff without having to wait in that security line, to bring it back to the airport metaphor.
Yeah, I think you touched on a whole bunch of great things there. And I think you might be the first guest to answer that two-part question with one answer. So that was pretty good, Chris. And then but I think a key there was, in every crisis, innovation soars, right? And then we're going to see, people, brands, businesses are going to come out of this crisis that we remember forever. You know what I mean? Of someone that innovated in this situation, no matter what industry you're in. So I think you definitely hit on that there, and I agree with you. So Chris Lane, Chief Marketing Officer of the Airfield Supply Company, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And we'll have everything in the show notes for all our listeners, and we will see everyone next time on the Pot.Live podcast. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive Pot Mate of the Month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit.